My name is Jill, and this is part of my story. My dad was disciplinarian, which, if you did something wrong, you knew you were going to get spanked. He left, and that was really, really hard for us to accept, I guess, or understand, because divorce just wasn't that prevalent back then. So my 4th grade year was really hard because Dad wasn't there anymore. My mom tried to hold it together, but she was probably struggling through her own things. He had a new family by then. He had remarried, and she had a 2-year-old boy from a previous marriage, and then they got pregnant right away and had my half-sister, Aubrey. And I remember about 16 years old, I was getting a job babysitting the neighbor kids every Tuesday. And so here comes when are we gonna see each other again this summer? And it's like, well, I have church camp this week, I have music camp these 2 weeks, I'm babysitting every Tuesday. And so I gave him several ideas of when we could maybe make arrangements. He wrote me a letter and said I was being selfish and that he didn't give a blank if I came or not. And he never talked to me. I think back as I see instance after instance of rejection and hope maybe this time that in each instance he would accept me, he would love me, he would be proud of me. Any of that wasn't there. That was a really hard time for me because I didn't know what I did wrong. And I was so hurt. I was done. Build my walls. And so I walked away from the church and God for quite a few years. And I still saw God as judgmental until I went to Christ Community. And so then going to a service where they handed out links of chain, and then the forgiveness and how this unforgiveness binds you, and didn't realize that, how badly that stronghold was. Said, okay, I know you're putting my dad on my heart, and I know you want me to forgive him. And then it was my stepmom too. For some reason I had this bitterness against her. And I prayed, and I prayed over that chain. And then we walked to the front, and there were these buckets filled with liquid that looked like water. And when you dropped your chain in, it was like a white cloud just took it. You didn't even see the chains, and you let it go. And when it was just this freedom. It was just amazing, this powerful. I've never experienced that before. And that's why year after year, forgiveness messages, it's just that message goes so powerful to the core. And I don't have those chains with me anymore. I forgave him that night, and I forgave her that night, and I was able to let go. I wanted him to know that I had forgiven him, that I was hurt by many things, but I also wanted to let him know that I loved him. He was in the hospital at that time, that was in May, and my husband said, whatever you need to do, buy a plane ticket. So I did, and flew to Wichita, went to Newton, Kansas, and I saw him. And tears came to his eyes, and he took a picture of me, and the first time I'd seen my dad in how many years, I don't know, 20? Long time. That was a really good visit. My stepmom too, she apologized, and I loved on her, and it was okay, and it was such a forgiving and healing and reconciliation all in one. It was great. And so that was in May, and he died in August. I think one of the things that came out of all of that was I wouldn't have forgiven or been able to let go if I hadn't given it to God to do what I needed to do. I wouldn't have been there. I held on to that, and Only because God forgave and helped me to forgive was I able to do that.